Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This is John with Tommy's Top Picks here to bring you your weekly flesh and blood market update. Yeah, let's just jump into it. It's a pretty quiet week overall, with a few exceptions. I would say, as a total, we are seeing things heat up nice and slow. It's a simmer. We're in a little simmer as we see this market get more attractive to both investors, and I'll show you more about that in a minute, and game playing pieces for the upcoming Pro Tour and the various battle hardens and the various other things going on. This game is hot right now. It's hot. All right, let's jump in. Let's talk about the numbers. In the unlimited category, there's really not much to report, not even a honorable mention, so we will just kind of skip over that. The only exception, even close, is almost 3.5% for WTR Unlimited. We did talk about this, how this is slowly going to tick up into that $100 range like ARC. It's continuing. It has been for 2 months now. So since the end of the year, 12/29, it was at 55, and it's just gone up since. So I personally expect this to continue. Keep in mind. And I will talk about some singles related to this, which is probably driving some of this upward tick. Let's move on to the first edition boxes. We have a jump in price to $6,799, 36% increase for WTR first edition box on TCG Player. Now, we've talked about this in the past. I never do these big ass transactions on TCG Player. I think it's too risky. Doesn't make sense. You can't see the product. You might be getting a box that's been drop kicked across the room, busted, seal, all sorts of stuff, right? Not worth it. You want to see pictures, go to eBay. And when you go to eBay, you see something like this. So I have no idea if this is a good seller, but there's more than one listing in this range for alpha boxes that are sealed, and they even come with the nice plastic case. So if you're looking for this, I would say eBay's your place to go. Obviously, watch out for scams. Protect yourself like you would with any other large purchase. But you can beat the heck out of a TCG Player price, and we're talking a price that's been in play for 2-3 months now, right? It's been rising this whole time. You can get a better price on eBay and Discords and things like that. Use sellers that you trust. Use protection. Always use protection. Just be careful about it. And essentially what it boils down to is I do think this product is drying up in the general market. I feel like TCG Player dries up before eBay's and the like, because it is the place people go for certain things. So I think there's a high probability that it is just drying up. That said, there are options available on eBay, so check that out. Moving on to ARC, first edition booster box, it dropped down 12.79%. This is a reversion to the mean. We have talked about this. There are several sales at this price too, so it looks real. I don't think this is a scam price like we were seeing in Pokemon and a couple other places, honestly. I will check back next week, though, because after seeing that big Pokemon scam where they were selling cases of Evolving Skies for half price, I do think people are getting into that and doing more of that stuff on TCG Player. I do worry ARC is a good target for it. Because we have seen prices around this, and you can kind of scam some money out of TCG Player. I think the way their systems work, it seems like it is possible because people keep doing it in Pokemon, so they wouldn't repeat the same process again and again unless it was working. So I do worry we'll see that soon in Flesh and Blood. Hopefully not. Hopefully this is just a regular sale. Like I said, I did see about 8 sales at around this price, 1200 ish. So I do think it's a real price, but we'll check next week. If all of those have disappeared, then it was a scam similar to what we've seen in other TCGs. But again, I don't think that's the case here. Moving on, Everfest first edition boxes, $63, up 6.78%. Nice little tick up. I'm not sure why. If you have any ideas why Everfest is ticking up at this point, do let me know. I am curious about that. It is a very highly printed box. It's not 2.0, right? 2.0 started Uprising. So if you're out there collecting Everfest, I love it. It's one of my favorite products personally. I've talked about this since it came out, and I know Tommy disagrees, but point being, like, I get liking it. I just don't know that there's a reason for it to be bought up in mass and cause prices to tick up. There should be plenty of that, unlike things like for Unlimited ARC and Unlimited WTR. There's got to be plenty of stock of this. So I'm not sure. If you know why this is getting bought up, let me know. Maybe it's something to do with certain wins, battle hardened or whatever. I don't know. If there's some cards in there that are just the hotness right now, then yeah, let me know. It's probably the case. This is a mostly player driven market, so there's probably some really killer card in there that's like hitting the meta hard. I haven't heard of it though. I do use some of these cards in my Reinhardt deck, though, so I can, I kind of am on the same page that there's some good stuff in there. I just don't know that I'd buy boxes. I also bought too much of that. Moving on to first edition cases. Let's see here. Cruise up 13.37% to 1899 from 1675, which was a 4% increase over the 1600 the week before. It's kind of in the mid range. We've bounced around the 16 to 17. This is a bigger bounce than we usually see up and out of the band. We'll take a look at the chart, but I do expect that this has a chance to come back down, kind of rest in the middle between them. We've talked about this before. But point being that these cases are starting to move, and that's interesting. It's interesting to see what happens there and how long it takes until it stabilizes at a new high. But I do think it is kind of the late bloomer, considering ARC and WTR both moved up fairly recently. And I did, by the way, find a WTR box on eBay, or case on eBay as well. It was around 16,000. So that's a more realistic price. It did look in good condition. I saw one more close to 10. I think it was 11,000. It looked like it had been kicked. No, it wasn't kicked, but it was definitely scuffed up, and they knew it. That's why their price was reduced. So there are actually cases of WTR hitting the market now at prices that seem somewhat reasonable, honestly. I mean, this is a first edition alpha case, assuming it's all real and no scam. That's worth that range, I do think. So it feels like we're kind of hitting that market trend where things are moving, liquidity's happening, products are starting to dry up, there's interest in buyers, so people are selling because there's actually buyers. It's very exciting. We'll talk about the singles in a second, but that's where most of this heat is happening. But I think it's starting to push some of these boxes around too. Tales of Aria, 12.69% up to 293 from 260. I can only imagine that's Oldhim love. Oldhim is definitely the hotness right now in his cold, icy way. Everfest cases, first edition cases, 8.72% up to 237. Same thing as the boxes, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe there's something. Is there something in there for Oldhim? Maybe that's it. Anyone know? Is there something in Everfest that Oldham's using that's the hotness? We are tracking outsiders. I'm not even going to show you. It's not worth it. But because it's just map, right? It's just staying at map. I did want to point out that we did not drop down into a recession recently. When we talked about it before, let me grab this chart real quick. This is the history. When we talked about it before, I said, look, while this is your textbook, rule of thumb recession, 2 quarters of downward negative GDP, and that is the textbook rule of thumb. An actual recession in the U.S. is defined by the Bureau of Economics, right? And it has a longer name than that, but basically that's what it is. And they use more factors than this. And I wanted to bring this up today because what we're seeing is part of the weirdness that I've been talking about for over 6 months, since before this first negative quarter. We are in an unprecedented economic state. It is very strange. Once in a century pandemics are strange, and what they do to the economy is strange, right? So what we have seen is that we have a record low unemployment while we're still seeing kind of heavy downward pressure on GDP growth and general economic activity. Very weird, right? We haven't had this low of unemployment in 60 years. So even if this dips to 0 or negative 0.01 or negative 1, I don't know that we can call that a recession as long as the unemployment maintains. Now, a couple caveats on that. Unemployment is typically a lagging indicator. That means it happens after the economic activity happens, and you do see unemployment hit its low well after markets have turned around and are usually buoyant by the time that the unemployment starts to turn around, right? So it's a response to economic situations. We are seeing tech companies lay off a bunch of people, but we saw that happen 2 quarters ago and last quarter, and now we have record low unemployment. Most of those that are getting laid off in tech have been in high demand. I know this because I invest in the tech world. have been in high demand for a decade, right? And all the big players were sucking up all the talent. And basically, as a defensive strategy for them, which is smart on them, they had the cash, they would hire way more than they needed. And the idea was that when you needed it, when you need to grow into the talent, you had the talent because it was very hard to get tech talent. And this happened across all the big players, even some of the smaller players that grew to be big players. It was just a standard strategy for decades in tech. They are right sizing. The market has said this is no longer acceptable. And so to appease their stockholders, they are right sizing, cutting 10, 15. I saw 5% in, I think it was eBay, 15% in Zoom, Google, Facebook, so it's somewhere between 5 and 15% across the tech sector. But apparently it's not affecting unemployment at all. And I really do believe that because in the startup world, they've been starved for high level, capable talent. And what happens when these sorts of people get laid off, they start new companies. My job has gotten busier than ever. So just so you know, that is the thing. When you see the headline that these layoffs are happening and there's large numbers, usually that's the scary thing, except in tech, it really isn't as scary as it sounds. Like if those were manufacturing jobs, yeah, that's a big deal, right? Because those jobs are hard to, replace, to find a new, you got to relocate, all this stuff. Tech, they can work for a company across the planet with an internet connection. It's a different world. It's a different way. It works slightly differently. And ultimately, the demand for that talent is very present across the globe. So it doesn't look like it's slowing down the economy from the employment side of things. Obviously, on GDP growth, inflation, all that stuff, inflation is coming down. The Fed is slowing on the rate, so that's important. It's a good sign. It means things are cooling off, it seems, at an appropriate rate. All things are looking like we're going to see a more positive turnaround probably by the end of 23. Real question is when, how fast, how hard, and if we have a slump in between. Do we get a V in here? Do we drop? Is there a spot where we do drop and we have high unemployment for a quarter or two? At that case, it would be a recession, obviously, but we'll see. I mean, there's a lot to look at. There's a lot of details. And again, I've talked to Fed managers. They're not managers. I can't remember the name of them. Governors and bank managers and personally, and they are talking about how this is unprecedented economic times. It's very hard to navigate. So take everything with a grain of salt. But I just thought I'd share that because I saw some interesting data. I mean, this unemployment's insane. I don't understand how we can be in this situation. It is very weird. So, anyways, let's go take a look at the cards. I want to point this out. I think this is very important for the card collectors in the flesh and blood space. Notice this. So I did a best selling of all sets. I kind of am done with just looking at Dynasty. We're well past its hype phase. It's settled down. It's pretty much staying the same. And we're moving on to Outsiders coming up soon. So I wanted to look at the whole market for a couple weeks before Outsiders hits and that insanity happens. Look at the stuff that is all best selling. These are WTRs. Right, now these are usable ones, obviously, so they're very popular. Here's Crew, WTR and Crew, Arcane. Notice a pattern, aside from Oasis, until you get down to Leave No Witness, right? These are all the first three sets, and you know what's actually happening? I was looking at this morning. We've talked about this in the podcast. We talked about it in a couple places. These unlimited rainbow foils are selling like crazy across the board. I'm seeing it all over the place and most of the things. The big one is, let's see if I can find it, Enlightened Strike. There it is. Sold out. Let's see if there's any sale today. Oh, I gotta do the filter. Nope, that's not it. Filter here. Yeah, there's 4 of them. 125. Last time I looked, it was only these 279 and above, right? They're gone. They don't exist. Apparently, these ones are as rare as legendaries. I don't have that confirmed, but that's what the word is. I would just say, be aware, older rainbow foils are going. Tome of Findel was another one I was looking at. It sold out completely the other day. And it was in the rainbow foil only. The regular ones are pretty easy to find, right? Like there's still plenty of them. But look at this. So your first edition normal, there's 9 of them. The unlimited rainbow, there's only 3. It's only thing rare is a first edition rainbow. And last I saw, yeah, they're going for $50. This was $10 the other day. I think I saw some at 20 when I last looked, and there was only 8 left. And I was like, oh, this, yeah, here we go. Yeah, just the fifth, it was $23, right? So now it's 50. This is where we're at. So these older things that are ARC and WTR, and it looks like people are starting to hit crew because this word is getting around. Um, they are basically, because the boxes are running out and people know it and the box prices are rising, you're starting to see these rainbow foil, the collectible products, right, disappearing. And so, oh, why did it do that? God, I hate when it does that. If I could do that. Yeah, there we go. And so just be aware. What you're starting to see is anything that's rainbow foil, anything that's iconic, Sink Below, Fate Foreseen, East Strikes, Tome, Cash In, Snatch. These are all very iconic cards, sigil. In rainbow foil, they're going to be even more valuable because they're going to be rarer and people are starting to collect them. And this is what I mean when I say I think the money is back. I think the collectors are slowly dipping back in. And there, if you look, and I've looked at a couple of key cards like this, if you look at the history, it's a couple purchases a day, maybe a couple purchases a week, depending on the card. But you see that people are starting to say, oh, I'll just buy a card every day, to keep from moving the market too much. So they're slowly moving back in. I think it also ties to the rise in the box prices. So you're seeing an EV rise because the price of these cards are rising. So the expected value starts to rise on the box. So you're getting this balance, this uptick of pressure in a couple different ways. And I think we're starting to see it. This is very good for the future of Flesh and Blood. I know I personally do believe in it the same way. I've been buying first edition cards. We were talking about it. You've seen my mail days where I got first edition pink strips and things like that. Rare cards, harder to come by. Not that pink strip was that rare, but things like that. Just to collect them because they were dirt cheap. And I was saying this is a way you can put 10, 20 bucks in a week, right? I started doing the rainbow foils a good long time ago. I did not start this trend, but then someone pointed it out and I was like, oh, look, everyone else is kicking in on this. So I picked up my pace. I bought a few more. I'm going to continue to do that. I love those tomes. I have a bunch of tomes because I've had a collection of tomes forever. So I'm happy to see those prices are going up. But yeah, it's happening for real. It is targeting the collectible pieces. No one wants to play with rainbow foil anyways because they'll get disqualified, right? So it's a collectible thing. I think Flesh and Blood did it right, and I think it's finally paying off. So anyways, let's jump to the charts. Very cool stuff, though. I'm very excited to see this. It's like I'm kind of hyped for Flesh and Blood. Not that I haven't been, and I love Outsiders and the playability side of things. It's just like I'm hyped to see this collector side come back after the big Monarch crash, because I really do believe in it. I think it's gonna happen. So, anyways, WTR Unlimited. Yeah, we saw it jump. It's sitting up top. That's where it's been. It's where it's gonna stay for a while. We will see if it goes higher. I could see. So here's your step ladder. Boop, boop. We'll see what happens here. We might see a revision to the mean. I think it will happen once we go too high. So what tends to happen is you see this like hype moment where everyone's like, oh crap, we're out. And it jumps like way high. And then it swings back down, settles in the middle. We haven't seen the big jump. This was probably the closest, the $69 one. It's probably the closest to a big jump, and it didn't. It flatlined, right? So until we see something that's more dramatic, I think it's going to be some time before we get that pullback situation. ARC, this is all unlimited, pretty stable. We had our volatility moment around that 115 period. We've been stable here for a while, and we'll look for volatility again when it jumps to the next tier. I think that will be a while. I think we talked about that before, a couple quarters at least. Seeing the same thing start to happen in crew, a jump up, some volatility settling in the middle, and then on the box prices themselves, kind of following the same pattern. So nothing too crazy there. Actually, it looks like the box is leaded. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. The cases led. The cases went up first, and then the boxes followed. So yeah, we do have a little ARB opportunity there. I don't think that will last long, and it's not enough to really do much with. Monarch, unlimited, less interesting, lots of supply, pretty stable, just at that $50 mark. Tales of Aria has always been a weird one in unlimited, and well, there's no ARB opportunity. That's weird. And like we said, no EVR. Oh, I almost caught myself from clicking it, but I still clicked it. That counts as a loss. I got a streak of 2 weeks before I did it again. Someday. I should just remove it. Why don't I remove it? They're never going to release it. They're never going to release it. I want to know what happened to those boxes. Anyways, WTR first edition cases. Yeah, they're up. But this is kind of a BS number, we know, because like I said, on eBay they sell them for cheaper, and it is possible to see pictures of them, so they're real. Question is if you get them. The boxes themselves, this is what we talked about. Again, higher than the market. Market's actually down here, but it's interesting to see this early lead up. ARK, this dip, we'll see if it's a scam. Again, I don't think it is, just because it's a recent price. There's a lot of sales around there. Probably a good buy. I don't know. I know I bought mine somewhere around this price. But I would say, considering we've seen the upward pressure on the unlimited, we've seen upward pressure on a lot of things. If you have the money and you're looking to collect some of the rarer stuff, this is some of the rarer stuff. Because ARK had a very small print run. Oh my God, this is scary. So this is where we're going to see a revision to the mean, right? Look at that climb. That's insane. That's when it goes parabolic, it will come down. It will settle like in the middle. Now, question is, how high does it go and what's the middle, right? We won't know until we hit the top and come back down. It is a catch-up. As you can see, the prices on the box went up high first, and then the cases followed. That does make sense. It does mean that boxes are selling. That's pretty interesting. Mon, even seeing a little upward J move here. This is a good time to purchase in my model of things. We've talked about the J that I like to see. This is the J I like to see. So that's a pretty good sign, pretty good buy opportunity in my opinion. First edition's always good. Those cold foils are where it's at. There's no heroes that are popular, so it's not going to be very good into the market right now. But it will be as a new Prism comes out, as a new chain comes out. All the various things that can happen that move a market. That would be a good position to have gotten in when it's boring and dull and no one cares about the heroes. That's one of my strategies. I've been looking at heroes no one cares about and buying their stuff in looking forward at when that will change, right? Mostly the art stuff. The extended arts seem to be a good spot to rest some money in, and then of course your rainbow foils and whatnot. And equipment, cold foils, obviously they're the best. Tales of Aria, big spike up. Guessing this is the Oldhim is a winter spike. That's what we're gonna call this. Oldhim is a winter spike. Not much to talk about there. Oldhim is a winner. Although Icelander won the recent Indy, that was pretty cool. I don't know if you guys got to see that match. It was a fun match to watch. I feel bad for the Oldhim player. It's definitely a low roll on their side and a high roll on Michael Hamilton's side. But it's always fun to watch really skilled players play skillfully, and it was that for sure. Everfest, again, spike. Is this an Oldhim spike? Let me know in the comments. I don't know. By the way, if you like this content, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, tell me that I'm awesome, tell me that I'm horrible, hashtag me something. I don't know. Hashtag that you ride Zambonis. I know we have someone that said they ride Zambonis in one of our podcast comments, so that made me laugh. I really enjoy that stuff. So yeah, hashtag me something crazy, something fun, something about flesh and blood, something about what you like in this. Uprising, just kind of moving up and to the right. This is very healthy. So remember, this is our model for 2.0. We didn't know what it would look like. This looks freaking great, guys. This is probably, this chart right here or something like this, a similar chart, is probably why those investors are picking up old rainbow foils, because they're like, it's a rare item that doesn't interfere with the game and is valuable in its nostalgia, right? Because who's not going to remember Sink Below and have one on their shelf 20 years from now, right? I mean, come on. Sink Below, Fate Foreseen, Energy Potion, all those are such staples. Toma Findel, it's been used forever. Everyone uses it. Every deck uses it. So those are like the staple things that are going to be the nostalgia kick. That's where the collections are. And then Rainbow Foil being the rarer ones. This chart says I want to buy those things personally, because this is 2.0. This is managing supply for your demand, and they're crushing it. They're kicking ass and taking names. Well done, LSS. It is a product I believe in collecting. Dynasty, still down, but that's fine. This is a release set. We talked about the J curve, remember? So unfortunately my charts are shortened because there's only so much space and gets really crowded when you crowd in the data. But if you remember, this is how Uprising looks. So think of this as step one, goes down. Next set comes out, then it goes like this. And that's about the timing that it happened, right? So it drops down, you get this J curve on the macro scale. It's a down and then a bottom and then an up. Your goal is to try to hit here. We had this spike. I remember when this happened, I was like, oh crap, I missed the bottom. It happened way faster than I expected. And as you can see, we never revisited those prices, and it's just steady Eddie up. We may see another dip down as supply hits, but this is something to keep an eye on and remember going into the future. we're just gonna see these moments where, and I imagine we'll hit this at some point with this too, where it kind of drops off and then it just boom up and it just keeps going. They're managing their supply very, very well. So this new 2.0 model is clearly working. And I have a lot of faith. So anyways, if you guys like the content, please do leave a comment, subscribe, share button, whatever, all those things. Really do appreciate the feedback and interaction with you. A lot of you guys have been leaving some great comments, some interesting insights, getting me to look at things in a different way or different places. Also some stuff that's just really funny. It does brighten my day, so I appreciate it. Anyways, I hope you guys are out there cracking packs, playing games, enjoying this hobby that we love. And until next time, have a good one.